Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm the Mellow Mama, and today I'll be talking all about sportscasting. If you're new here, what's up? I'm Kate. I talk all things conscious living and conscious, respectful parenting with the help of lots of great resources, books, and of course, my experience as a mama. Today I'm going to be referring back to my favorite ever, Janet Lansbury and Magda Gerber, both in their books, Dear Parent, Caring for Infants with Respect. I always reference this book. You gotta have it if you're a new parent, especially if you're expecting a baby. Look over this and look over it again and again. Self-Confident Baby, as well as Janet Lansbury's book, Elevating Childcare. So what is sportscasting? We are all probably mostly familiar with the job of a sportscaster or broadcaster, and Magda Gerber coined this term in terms of how to interact with our children when they're having a difficult time or experience. But let's review our traditional understanding of sportscasting. Two people, or maybe three people, or even maybe one guy or girl watching a sporting event, let's say a basketball game, and objectively stating exactly what's happening moment by moment on the field or on the court. They don't get emotionally involved. They might be enthusiastic or loud, but they're not going to be affected, let's say, by the outcome or take anything personally. Also no shame or blame or labeling involved, just simply observing and stating, this guy's got the ball, this guy just took it away, this guy's running down the court. Wow, what's gonna happen next? They absolutely don't try to get really involved and fix a situation or assess a situation and tell anybody on the court what to do. And the same thing goes when we apply this practice in parenting and when we see our children struggling to learn any sort of new skill, whether that be a social skill in their interactions with other children or other people, or an independent skill that has to do with their autonomy and their ability to problem solve and think critically. Some specific examples might look like, Donovan, yeah, you're working really, really hard on that puzzle. I see. That piece isn't quite fitting there. You seem super frustrated. Yeah, what are we gonna do next? Or on the playground, Donovan, it looks like you were crossing the bridge and now she wants to cross it too. Oh, you are still trying to go across. Hey, I'm not going to allow you to shove, okay? I'm not gonna allow you to push. And maybe in that case, intervening physically, but only in the case that there's some sort of physical safety issue or maybe someone's actual work, let's say in a classroom setting or something like that, is being jeopardized, or when the behavior is just generally becoming a disturbance and a repeated sort of issue. That's when we place calm, confident limits where we can physically intervene and say, hey, calmly, confidently, we're not gonna allow that to happen. But there's still no shaming or blaming going on here. Our job as the sportscaster in this case is to simply state what we see in order to give our children the space and the autonomy that they need to grow into these independent, confident people that we want them to be. Sportscasting directly aligns with Magda Gerber's famous expression, observe more, do less. And it is incredible what I've noticed in my own son's interactions with other people, children, of course, himself, in terms of learning and doing more when I do and say less. But the kind of support and encouragement that's needed in those times that, my son is really truly having a difficult time or he's struggling with something or someone, sportscasting is an incredible tool. And it's amazing how little he truly needs from me to actually figure out the answer or the solution on his own just by me simply stating what's actually going on and him processing, okay, that is what's going on, what can I do about it? As opposed to me fixing his problems for him, which, as you could imagine, only leads to less independent individuals as we move forward in life. Young people, young adults that have been used to and accustomed to their parents really solving a lot of the problems in their life. Although small in the beginning, we constantly develop a stronger and stronger dependency on other people to think and problem solve for us, which is what we absolutely want to avoid, especially because, like I'm stating here, our kids want to have their autonomy. They want to problem solve. They want to be critical thinkers. And it's incredible when you do give the space and you just simply observe and you sportscast what our children are capable of and what they can show us and how happy and how much joy is involved in the learning process when they actually figure something out on their own or when they solve a problem on their own, or just in general when it comes to peer interactions, the peace that happens and that occurs when we don't get involved, we don't get emotionally invested, how simple it is for kids in their early social interactions to just solve issues, move past them, and continue playing and enjoying and having a fun time. Sometimes more help might be needed, and in those times we can kind of transition into interview mode, as Janet Lansbury says, where we ask open-ended questions pertaining to whatever's happening. The example Janet Lansbury uses in her book is, you both want that ball. What can we do? And moving forward, she suggests that if the issue continues and it's maybe starting to escalate and there's even more tension, you can consider giving a few suggestions. For example, just observing and stating, did you notice that there's another ball in the basket? Or in the case of, let's say, our child in the middle of some sort of risky play or general play where they're on the playground, experimenting with something new in terms of their physical capabilities. For example, Donovan loves to climb really high things. I mean, sometimes he's been on like this big net. It's even been in one of my vlogs. And instead of fixing it for him or getting scared or creating an issue out of nothing, I simply say the suggestion, you might try, Donovan, to just put one foot down first. Or you might try, Donovan, to grip really tight, but not actually trying to fix anything or correct anything or do anything for him. I love Janet's third example where she mentions physical play between two or more children where one child might express some discomfort, and instead of, again, sort of labeling this child as the victim, hey, that's too rough or this is not okay, just suggesting to the child, asking them, is that okay with you? And waiting for an actual response. And if the child says no, you can, again, a suggestion such as, you can say no and move away if you want to. And if something escalates, of course, intervening confidently and calmly with our physical self and helping a child out. But in my opinion, less is truly always more. The less guidance and suggestions and anything that I give, in general commentary that I give, the better my son responds and the more easily he moves through things and perseveres through difficult tasks and issues. I love the example that she gives in terms of older children, toddlers that have more verbalization skills, because I've been able to utilize this all the time with my son Donovan as he gets older and as he does communicate more clearly, especially pertaining to his relationships with other kids and what's going on with them. For example, when two children are struggling over a toy, as opposed to saying, you need to share, or you need to give that back, or that belongs to so-and-so, or let's take turns, just simply stating, yeah, you had that, Donovan. You both want the car. Well, what did you want to do with the car? Okay, waiting for a response. Let's say, I think in Janet Lansbury's book, she says something about like rolling a car down a ramp. And then asking the other child, what did you want to do with the car? And he says something about rolling it up the wall. And typically what happens in my own personal experience, as well as I think what Janet says happens in her experience as an educator or educarer in Rye terms, is that the children typically either decide to do that together, to take turns doing whatever it is that they both wanted to do, or move on. But at the end of the day, the issue is resolved. And no real intervention was necessary. Just a little bit of interviewing, a little bit of sportscasting, and just simply stating what's going on. What did you want to do? What did you want to do? Oh, okay. What can we do? And just letting them do it. I recently made a video discussing labeling, and I've also got a great video on nonviolent communication, Dr. Rosenberg's book. It's awesome. You've got to read it and check out that video. And I think those conversations go hand in hand with sportscasting, because we all have a natural tendency to label everything and criticize and judge every interaction that we see, especially when it comes to our children, and especially when it comes to our children's interactions with other children. And when we place criticism and judgment and labels on our children, especially in terms of their behavior interactions, we create a lot of issues. And we're moving away from what we truly want and what we really need in the foundation of our relationship with our kids. So we create a lot of shame and guilt and blame, as opposed to connection and understanding and real authentic learning. On top of that, our children's general self-confidence is so much stronger when we do step back and allow them to problem solve. And that's kind of going to be a constant theme in this video. Oftentimes we as adults have a natural tendency, again, to place our own personal life experience on our children's life experience. So when we see our children interacting with someone else and maybe someone took something from them, or maybe someone bumped into them a little bit hard, Our child's perspective and our perspective might be vastly different. Kids are new, obviously, they're fresh in the world, and they're all sort of gaining a perspective in terms of relationships, social dynamics, social interaction, and they don't judge their experience unless we teach them to. They're not going to blame and criticize and shame other kids unless we teach them to. It's amazing how I see my son perceiving his experience because I've been so objective from day one with him, as well as other children that I know have been raised with this, philosophy of respectful parenting and a lot of space and autonomy and a lot of critical thinking and problem solving. When we refrain from projecting onto our kids' experience, it's amazing how much they can learn and how wonderfully they do at problem solving with other kids. To elevating childcare, I love the example Janet Lansbury gives when she says the simple difference between stating you had that and now Tommy has that, as opposed to Tommy took that from you. Sportscasting gives us the tools and ability to just see what's happening before us as what it is. We just accept the experience that our child's having, we accept the events that are going on in front of us, and we're able to stay open-minded about them and allow our children to lead the way and show us how they feel about things. And typically, they're not fazed. That being said, back to the conversation about labels, oftentimes when we do refrain from just taking an objective sportscasting approach, we will have the tendency to identify our child as a victim or an aggressor. You took that from somebody, you are bad, you need to experience shame, versus looks like she was wanting to play with that. What were you wanting to do with that? Looks and sounds very different, right? On the flip side of that, the other child, when you do label your own child, for example, as the bad one, the aggressor, you took that is not nice, give it back right now. We share. You need to share. The other child feels like I'm the victim in this situation. Someone took that from me. That wasn't nice. And then now we have this dynamic of aggressor and victim all the time. And sometimes children really cling to those labels and their behavior sort of matches up with it consistently in their interactions with other children. And they need their parent to intervene more and more as these labels are sort of defined and really they get grounded in them. Which I've actually noticed when I'm in public places with Donovan, which is very frequently when we go to a museum or a park or something like that, or a story time, I'll notice that some kids have routine behavior, especially because some of these kids I see often and routinely. I'll notice oh yeah, this parent is constantly having a difficult time with this child either being the aggressor, constantly causing a problem, or this child constantly feeling like their feelings are hurt, people are doing something bad to them, and it, of course, inevitably, the cycle just keeps continuing because they are now in their roles and acting on them. Whereas with sportscasting, we don't place emphasis on either one. It's just objective. Oh, you had that, now she has it. It looks like maybe she wanted that. Had that, now she's got it. What can we do? Respectful parenting in general, I find, is so deeply rooted in trust that our children are innately good, but also that our children are capable of doing great things and being resilient, confident people. Sportscasting directly reinforces this concept of trust. Trust that our children can solve problems, they can think critically, and ultimately they can handle whatever happens, even if it comes to them having these big emotions, like these big heightened periods of tension where they're really frustrated or really disappointed, as opposed to, again, creating this unnecessary issue. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that he took this ball, or I'm so sorry that your tower fell down. Rather, you're still really disappointed about that. I'm here. Just giving them that calm, confident support and encouragement. I'm here, but you can handle this, and I'm gonna watch you handle this. I'm here for you. Which again, as you could understand, creates so much resilience and strength and self-confidence in our children from such an early age. Lastly, sportscasting just simply is the best tool for learning in terms of actual hands-on learning and experimentation with whatever it is that our children are up to and doing, but also social and emotional intelligence. We clearly, confidently, calmly communicate what's going on in front of us, and we talk our children through their life experiences without judgment, without shame, blame, or labeling them. We are creating such a great understanding of reality. We are creating such a great, connected, trusting relationship, and we are giving our children so many opportunities for co-regulation in terms of those times that are just really hard to process, and we are just present and there for them and engaged in them having this hard experience, and just there without judgment, without feeling any sort of type of way or taking it personally or being affected by it, which is what our children truly need in order to understand how to regulate their emotions independently. And then, of course, in my opinion, the best, most awesome part of sportscasting comes from the fact that our children will become independent learners and they will seek solutions independently, being real, true critical thinkers and problem solvers, as opposed to people that constantly need other people to solve their problems for them, especially their parents. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, give it a thumbs up, hit that like button for me. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do that and hit the notification bell for notifications every time I post a new video. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, you can do that and get a little peek into my daily life with my son Donovan. It's at the Mellow Mama. And there are all kinds of great resources in the description box below, ways to get a hold of me, ways to work with me, and of course, ways to buy the books that I recommend reading. And I think that's it. I wish you could comment, but as always, my comment sections are disabled, so head on over to Instagram or send me an email or whatever if you've got something to say or have a question to ask me. I'd love to answer it for you. Thank you so much. I will see you on the next one.